Hi crafters and welcome. So this is the technique of the week and today is Sunday, February 22nd. Still another cold weekend here in the Chicagoland area, and I hope wherever you're at you're not in the way of that storm that's going through. So this week's technique of the week is generational stamping. So what that means to you is most everything you stamp, I'm going to use these colors I used on my examples video that I also recorded today. First generation means that you take a stamp to the stamp pad and you stamp it on a piece of cardstock, and that's the first generation. Second generation means that you are stamping the same image a second time and it'll be a lighter version of it. And third generation means that there's probably very little left on your stamp and it'll be a very, very light remnant of ink. So let's go ahead. You know what, I'm not going to use, because I forgot that Mossy Meadow probably isn't the most well inked of my stamp. So here we go. So here is first generation. Here's second generation. Here's third generation. You can see by that third generation, I didn't get this really inked well to begin with. So you can see it goes from being dark to lighter to a very light look. All right, so I'm gonna put these off to the side. That is what we mean by generation stamping. So the first thing I'm going to show you with this is how you can use this for two-step stamping sets. I am going to use Natural Botanicals. So what this is it is reversibles, which means you can use the one side as your background and the other side is your stamping area. So let's go ahead, let's take this same sheet. Let me find a block. I needed to get that piece of cardstock runner there. Makes it look like my blocks are pink. Okay, anyway. So I'm going to take one of these bigger ones so that stem gets on there. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put it so the detailed side is down. So this is our solid sign here. You know what, I think I am going to go ahead, let's see what color. Let's use, I'd like to use a yellow, but I don't think it's going to show up very well. So what we're going to do for the underside is I'm going to coat this. I'm going to take a piece of paper, cardstock, whatever. I'm not going to do it on the glass mat because sometimes it doesn't take off a lot of ink when you do it on the glass mat. So I'm going to go 1 and then we're going to come down with 2. So this is the second generation. And there's that background. All right, let's clean this off. Oh, I need to re-wet my little microfiber cloth or my glass mat towel that came with the Glass Mat Studio. All right, so let's get that ink off the back side of that. And now we're going to flip it around. We're going to take that same color and we're going to stamp. Oh gosh, it wouldn't be a video if I didn't get ink all over me. So now we're going to stamp this first generation. Now, hopefully I don't get my head too much in it. I'm trying to line up those petals. And we'll go down. So there's how you can use second or third generation to stamp. Is that focusing in? Let me see. There we go. Now, if you wanted it to be even lighter, let's go ahead, since we already have our first side up. If you wanted to do a third generation, let's show, we'll go ahead again, first generation on the detail part of the stamp. I'm going to wipe it off. That way when I flip it over, it will stick well to the block. Now this time, let's go third generation. All right, so we're going to stamp it off twice. Oh, did I get that top? There we go. So we're going to stamp off once, stamp off twice, and here we go to our third one. Again, I'm trying not to get my head in there. And now you can see on this one, it is very much lighter. So that's first generation with the detail, third generation with the shadow. All right. So that's the first thing you can do. You know, I usually show you 3 different techniques, or I try to. All right, the next one is what we're going to call fading words. So let's get that love out again. Oh, it's right here. I'm going to clean it off. And I could get out my Stampin' Positioner, but I'm just going to eyeball this. So it's going to be similar to this, but on a card. So, well, it's pretty much going to be the same thing, but I'm going to do it so that it's lined up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip this around this way, and I'm going to try to have my block on the edge of my paper there. So that way, oops, I already went over. And here's my third one. So like this, you could have it stair step down and have the fading of your word going down. Okay. Last thing I'm going to show you. So we've shown you how to do it with two-step stamping. We showed how to do it in a gradient. Sorry, gradient going down. Let's do a background. This is where I personally love doing the generational stamping. All right, so let me grab out, do I want a card layer? Let's just do it right on the cardstock. Or do I want to do a layer? Such indecision. Nope, let's do it right on the card base. All right, so something like this flower swig set, and then we'll have this other little flower here. Put that over here. So here's our card base. I'm going to put this on a block. Let's see. So you see how we have, so that little flower is at the top. So we're using this one right here. And then we're going to use the little rose. But we'll show you how generational stamping can work when you are using it to make a background. Let's see, here's Cherry Cobbler. And I'm just gonna, even though there's leaves on there, I'm gonna do it all the same color. So when you're doing, you're always wanting to turn your paper, but if you're doing this and you're doing your second or third, you want to make sure that you haven't gone off the edge on your first one, because this would be second generation, this would be first, and it's going to kind of make it look wonky, I would say. All right, so let's go ahead and do this again. Now, since I had the really dark there, I'm going to start with the really dark here. Now, since I'm off the edge of my cardstock here, I don't want to have that same whole thing on here, because that's going to have less ink on it. And now I'm just going to go ahead. We're going to see how many generations we can get out of this. I'm leaving the middle of that blank because that's where I'm going to put my words. We're getting a lot of inking out of this. And let's just, so there you have, look at all those different generations. And it makes for a cool background look because nothing looks the same. It doesn't look the same vibrancy, I guess would be the right word, because they're all very different. And then you could stamp your word in the middle there. All right, let me go ahead and clean that off with alcohol. Now, if I wanted to fill in the blank, I could go a different color and go in the blanks with this little rose. But I decided I don't think I really want to do that. Or do I? Let's try it. Let's try it with a different color, though. Let's not do it with a red. Let's do it with a... Let's do it with Fresh Freesia. Something a little bit lighter. I'm still going to leave that blank in the middle, though, because that's where my greeting's going to go. So this is going to be a 1-layer card. So then we could go in here, and we're just filling in those gaps. Now, Fresh Freesia is a very light color to begin with, so you can see that it fades very quickly. You barely get that 3rd generation out of it. And that will happen a lot with your more mellow yellows. No pun intended there. But those will also be very much lighter because they're starting off with a very light color to begin with. So there again, let me get my hand up there so it focuses. You can see how we have that different color in there. That different generation. All right. I think that's all I wanted to show you today. I don't even know where my other examples are. Here they are. So, making a background using different generations of your ink. Doing palette or stair stepping so it goes, that gradient or that saturation of color gets lower and lighter as you go down. And working with your 2-step stamping. All right, guys. Thanks for joining me for this week's Technique of the Week. Hope you enjoyed it. Come on back next week and next weekend, and we'll do another technique together. Give me that thumbs up if you don't mind. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye for now.